I, 29 female, married my wife in October of last year. Best day of my life. My 32 sister, Bianca, has been in MLM for almost 3 years. She has seriously become another person since she started her business. We share some group chats, and not a day goes by that she doesn't send out catalogs, promotions, and walls of text about how lucrative this opportunity is. About the topic, it was the beginning of the wedding reception. My wife and I were talking to some of our guests when our wedding planner frantically approaches us and tells us that a guest is handing out MLM business cards to arriving guests. It turns out it was Bianca. I asked her to stop, and she did, except she spent the whole night trying to talk people into the business. In the grand scheme of things, what Bianca did was insignificant because my wife and I were very happy that day, and there were no major problems. But I still get angry when I think about how uncomfortable it must have been for the guest who was subjected to her presentation. Fortunately, they graciously accepted our apologies. Whenever my wedding is mentioned, someone will indeed mention my crazy sister who was promoting her MLM. So incredibly embarrassing. Bianca and I haven't had a lot of contact since then. Yesterday, my mom called me, and after a bit of catching up, she told me that my sister's business hasn't been doing very well, and she's been struggling to meet her monthly quotas. So now she's behind on rent and needs money. Bianca asked my mom for money, and she in turn asked me to help her. I said absolutely no. She embarrassed me at my wedding. She didn't even apologize, and I was sure she would use the money I gave her to get into another MLM now that this one was no longer working for her. Mom said that I'm cruel and rude. She said that she didn't raise me to betray my family. I told her that she was just feeding my sister's fantasy world and making her believe that at some point she'll be successful with her MLM. Am I the idiot? We're not on speaking terms right now. Not the idiot. Your sister's business isn't failing. She's just not able to afford to continue being a customer in the pyramid scheme. The sooner she hits rock bottom, the sooner she'll learn she was taken advantage of, and people helping her, slowing her fall with money, will only be brought down with her. The only real way of helping is if they're finally down and out and realize they don't want to be involved in that crap anymore. My God, the nerve of these people. She used your event to promote her business to people who were a captive audience because they didn't want to be rude to your sister. I would be angry about that myself. A celebration of two families coming together is no place for someone to peddle their business. What business? MLMs are legalized scams. I made more money trading during a stock market crash in a month than my sister, who festered in one such scam for years. My sister's business hasn't been doing very well. She doesn't have a business. She has a spot on the bottom of a pyramid. What she did or didn't do at your wedding is irrelevant when it comes to whether or not you should give her money so she can sink it into this or another MLM to fund the dreams of her uplines further. If your mom wants to help her, she should help her get out. It's amazing how MLMs brainwash people and get them to do things that make absolutely no sense. It was extremely rude of her to use your wedding to promote her latest MLM. She needs to get a job making money. I have a relative that quit a good-paying job because the boss told them to stop trying to sell their MLM junk to coworkers. Seriously, the person was mad that they were told they were being paid to work for ABC Corp and were expected to leave MLM off the premises. Anyway, congratulations on your recent marriage. I, 26 female, have a close friend, 30 female, who's a vegan. I don't care, and I always make a huge effort to accommodate, and as a general rule, when she comes to stay, my husband and I will prepare and eat whatever she eats. My only issue is that she can be a bit self-righteous about it. We're close. She's been there for me when literally no one else was. I love her dearly, but bear in mind, she's alienated and hurt other friends based on her vegan opinions. She is opinionated and feels she's better than other people based on her decision not to eat animal products. We met up recently at my house with a few other friends and were drinking and generally enjoying ourselves when I noticed that the wine she had opened was not the specific vegan wine I'd brought for the weekend, but rather one that was just in the fridge. I quickly pointed it out to her, but she had already had almost a whole glass. At this point, she goes off on one that all wine is vegan, and I'm being ridiculous. If I have an issue with certain wines being consumed, it was a pricey one that she was drinking, but that wasn't the problem. Then it shouldn't have been in the fridge. I pointed out that not all wine is vegan. She can drink what she wants, but I thought she'd want to know that it wasn't vegan. She's now bad-mouthing me for calling her out and being a know-it-all on her diet in front of other friends. I assumed, as a vegan, she'd know to check these things, but maybe I was an idiot for leaving that bottle in the fridge when I knew she was coming around and correcting her in front of other friends. Not the idiot. She helped herself to wine in your house, and you explained it wasn't vegan. You were doing her a favor. I bet if you had said nothing, and she later on discovered it wasn't vegan, she would have called you a bad friend. Sounds like she wants to be right all the time, and that she's arrogantly obnoxious. She came into your house and drank your wine. Like, if she was a true vegan, she would have checked first. She's just upset that she was called out for not being as dedicated as she was pretending to be in front of people. People change. I know she's been your closest friend and helped you a lot, but people change, and sometimes not for the better. Wow, I actually learned something today. I had no idea that all wine wasn't vegan friendly. Yes, I looked it up to confirm. Some wine is filtered using fish bladder membranes. A lot of wines also use eggs, gelatin, blood, bone, and chitin. As for OP, you're absolutely not the idiot and are an angel for taking such good care of your vegan friend. I personally appreciate the heck out of a heads up if I screwed up and was consuming something non-vegan. You were trying to be helpful. My mom died when I, 19 female, was 7. Our dad started dating a year later. He met Sarah, and they got married 2 years later. Sarah had a daughter who was a toddler when they moved in, which was about a year after they started dating. Sarah and my dad also had my 3 half-siblings together. So I have one stepsister who's now a tween and 3 half-siblings, 2 pre-tweens and 1 a year younger. My brothers are teenagers. My dad stayed pretty close to my maternal family, and they were welcoming to Sarah and my stepsister and half-siblings. They weren't like a regular family, but birthdays were remembered, and there was friendliness there. My maternal family saw them as sort of family friends, but Sarah was not their new daughter, and my stepsister and half-siblings were not considered additional grandchildren. My dad understood this, and sometimes my brother and I did stuff with our maternal family without everyone else. The problem comes in because Dad mentioned to Sarah at some point in their marriage that my grandma had a cookbook to which every family member had added a recipe. He added one when he was married to my mom, and my mom added one when she was 15. Her siblings added one as kids. My brothers and I all have a recipe in there, our cousins too. Aunts and uncles related not through blood, but through marriage have a recipe in it. Sarah waited to be asked to add a recipe. She also told my stepsister and half-siblings that they would get to add a recipe too. When my stepsister said she knew the recipe she wanted to add, Sarah decided to ask my grandma when they could add their recipes. My grandma said she never planned to ask them to add recipes, and she hoped Sarah would understand that it was for family. Sarah and my dad argued about it. I learned about it from my brothers when I visited for Christmas. They said Sarah and the other kids were upset that it wasn't going to happen, and Sarah was saying they were part of the family and it was unfair to exclude them. I was home again for my dad's birthday last week, and Sarah was angry that my maternal family was invited to Dad's birthday. I told her she behaved like a child who couldn't let go of something. My stepmom said being excluded from your own family is hurtful, that it was hurtful to children especially. I told her, She and her kids were never part of my maternal family. They were welcomed as family friends because of Dad and my brothers and me, and she should understand that and never have expected that they'd be included in the recipe book. Sarah said I was rude and kicked me out of the house. She told me I owed her a big apology. Am I the idiot? So Sarah wanted so much to be seen as a family member that she kicked her 19-year-old stepdaughter out? Slow hand clap. How's that plan going, Sarah? You're not the idiot. I hope your father put her in her place, and now you're back home or somewhere safe. Your mother's family doesn't owe your stepmother, and quite frankly, your father, one thing. They truly are good people for maintaining the relationship with your father how they have. So I wonder why she's offended if this is your late mom's family. You're correct in what you said to her, and she should have explained the family dynamics to her kids. I could understand if this was your dad's blood family, but it's not. She conveniently forgets the fact that the only reason her husband was asked to contribute to the book was that he was married to your late mother at that time. She's acting as though her marriage to your father actually replaced your mother with her own family, which is absurd. If your father leaves this abomination of a step-parent, she'll have no ties to your maternal family. A month ago, my oldest turned mid-teen. For his birthday, the plan was to let him skip school, get to the DMV when it opens, take the driving test, go on a small road trip, be back around when school gets out, then I'll go out for a family dinner. On the weekend would be a celebration with his friends. Skipping school for the DMV test was planned in advance, but the road trip was a surprise. My wife asked me to take our toddler with me a few days before the road trip that day. I said I wasn't taking a toddler to the DMV. That place is a cesspit. Also, the road trip is for additional driving practice before he can drive unsupervised. So a toddler distracting him is not a good idea. My wife said she wanted the day to herself, and if I wasn't willing to take our toddler, the birthday stuff needed to be moved to the weekend so I could. I said I'd take our toddler to work with me the next day, but our eldest birthday is his day, so he's the priority. She got angry and said she's made 100 sacrifices for our kids, and saying she isn't a priority, not what I said, is disgusting. It was a big fight. On my son's birthday, she texted me that I was an idiot multiple times. At the dinner, she was in a bad mood. After everyone ate, my dad asked us to go to the parking lot. He handed my son the keys to his car, saying he was getting a new one. He also said he'd continue to pay the insurance for a year. My wife asked me if I knew about this, and I didn't. She didn't believe me. My wife has called and texted my dad multiple times, asking if he was going to do this for all of our kids, saying he shouldn't have done this without asking us first, and telling him if he can't do this for all the kids, he needs to take the car back. Eventually, he told her to shut up and stop bothering him. My wife told me I needed to stop talking to my dad. She said he used offensive language. He texted, "Stop bothering me, woman," which she says is misogynistic towards her, and I needed to support her. I said she needed to stop talking to my dad, not me. I'll support her not talking to him. My wife said I'm disrespecting her, that I won't listen when she said she needed help, and let my family treat her poorly. I think she's creating these situations herself. She looks for offense and then finds it. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. I can't believe anyone would think that taking a toddler to your older son's driving test and road trip on his birthday would be the time for a break. That's a punishment for your older child. This whole thing smells of something bigger. Is your older son hers biologically? He is. We actually have 6 kids. They've had their struggles in the past, but I thought that was behind us. Also, this time she isn't fighting with him. She's fighting with me and my dad. So I don't know why this is happening. I'm sorry, but what the heck is your wife's problem? The way she's acted is selfish. Expecting your son's birthday to become about her, thinking it's even remotely appropriate for a brand new driver to drive a toddler around, and then flipping out because in 10 plus years, your other child might not also get a car, and if she doesn't, your son must give his back? This is outrageous behavior. I'm sorry, but I have to assume massive favoritism is happening here. The way she spoke to your father is also disgusting. I'm so sorry you're going through this, but you need to speak to your son alone and ask him how she treats him when you aren't around. Her behavior is very worrying. 6 kids? She's taking care of 6 kids? OP doesn't mention it until the comments, so it sounds like she's at the end of her rope. Probably a lot of his non-parenting has led to this. And no, I'm not taking a huge leap. Men really act oblivious, even with their own children. I still resent my husband's 30-minute toilet visits when I had a newborn and a toddler. I never got that sort of time out automatically, as he did without question, and it builds up. Yeah, something's up, or something's missing from the story. Why was the wife demanding to take a day for herself that just happened to be her eldest child's special birthday? Everyone's the idiot here. I would be furious too if someone gave my kid a car without clearing it with both parents first. She's the bad guy if she refuses to give your son that kind of freedom or responsibility. Your father should know better and should never shut her down like that. My wife and I have 3 children, a mid-teen female, a young teen female, pre-tween male, but only the oldest is relevant here. She's always been very gifted academically, and since 3rd grade was a year ahead in school. We always ensured she wasn't too overstressed and still had time to be a kid. We didn't want her to end up burning out. Overall, she was quite happy and seemed to be in a good place until last year. She was a sophomore, but the school said her grades were good enough to skip another year and go straight to senior year. She was hesitant, but they said it would be good for her development. So we decided to move her up, which I regret. She still got good grades, but was very stressed and busy. She has a great work ethic, but sometimes I think it causes her to put more effort than is healthy into her work. She was tired, less outgoing, and generally more down. She had difficulty getting along with the older kids and never made any new friends. The worst part was that she skipped junior prom and had nobody she knew to go to senior with. So she's graduating this year and explained that she doesn't want to attend college next year. I understand her reasoning. She'll be much younger and sharing classes with older adults. She thinks she overdid it. It isn't her fault, but she thinks otherwise, skipping 2 grades and just wants to relax. She said she's sick of never spending much time with people her age and wants to age into college a bit. She's willing to work and stay busy this next year, but doesn't want to do college yet. I think it's the right call. She's still a kid and will have more time to enjoy it. I'm honestly more worried about her socially than academically. All the degrees in the world won't matter if she can't talk to anybody. My wife disagrees and thinks she'll waste the entire year when she could be studying. She accused me of being a fun parent who doesn't care about our daughter's future. Not the idiot. Being 2 years younger than everyone else might not seem like much, but it is at that age. Being mindful of your daughter's mental well-being does not make you a fun parent. It makes you a caring parent. Since your daughter seems to be feeling depressed and burnt out, I would recommend you stand your ground. Her academic possibilities won't diminish from waiting a year. You're recognizing the early signs of burnout for your daughter. If you were to force her into college now, it would just get worse. Good on you for taking mental health seriously. Many adults take a gap year to recharge mentally, and because she's 2 years ahead, after her gap year, she'll still be 1 year ahead. Win-win for everyone. Agree. So she finishes university early too. Then what? Works till 65? Or retires 2 years earlier than her peers? What's the end goal of rushing through it all? The journey should be enjoyed just as much as the finish line. Maybe a selling point to your wife could be for her to use this year to catch up on some of the things she missed out on while focusing too hard on academics, i.e., social development and health habits, rather than characterizing it as just relaxing and lounging around for a year.